I think that might be it, is it? Just give that a second to see will it stay live. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us once again. A little hiccup there. We're going live at 7:45 and the YouTube channel was disconnected, so I've just reset and I will put the details in relation to Molly Staunton and the videos connected to Molly Staunton's interactions in the courtroom will be directly in underneath this video. Firstly, I'd like to thank everyone for all the support in relation to the new Facebook page and the new Twitter account and the TikTok account. And I can tell you, as what's happened here this evening, the gremlins have been involved in all of those platforms for whatever reason. We may just be unlucky and be in a poor reception area. I don't think that is the case, but definitely Aaron's platforms are being tampered with. Nonetheless, we'd like to thank everyone for their friend requests, accepting our friend requests, and hopefully that Aaron's base of supporters for the campaign will continue to grow and get the word about Aaron's story out there. So as previously, the idea of these lives is to give you, the Irish public, and anyone who's studying this case and needs information on it, a library of where to go to find specific information about specific parts of the case. And we have outlined those in the previous videos. We've obviously done the theft of the Caranflower Head, the murder scene, the burn site, the gang, and then we had a look at some of the protagonists, the criminals who told lies against Aaron to save their own skins in America. And this evening we're going to have a very brief look at a young lady who gave testimony against Aaron during the course of the trial, a young lady from New York. The first thing to say about this was, and it's a disgrace and a blight on the Irish judicial system, that this girl was allowed to give evidence in a capital murder trial from her kitchen in New York, irrespective of any pandemic or for whatever reasons the judiciary and the DPP used here in Ireland to their benefit, and obviously to the detriment of Aaron's any chance Aaron had for a fair trial. So that was obviously scuppered, and the concerns raised by Aaron's legal team and by ourselves and by Aaron in relation to having Molly Staunton and others give their evidence from across the Atlantic was that you have no control, obviously, of what is happening or who is happening, as it turned out to be. And I think everyone will agree the rule of law is that every man or every woman, every person is entitled to face their accuser. And by no stretch of the imagination is giving evidence via video link from 5,000 miles away facing your accuser. And that, again, because of the actions and the incidents that took place during Molly Staunton's testimony, that those concerns were born and shown to be very, very true and pertinent. So Miss Staunton was given her evidence from her kitchen in her apartment in New York. She had agreed to the terms and conditions laid down by the Irish judicial system, that there would be no one with her. She was in the apartment on her own, and she was doing this of her free will within her own property. So she agreed to all those terms and confirmed to Judge Michael White that there was no one in the apartment with her. She was telling lies. There was a man in the apartment with her, a man whom we know now is Seamus, and we know that from the recording that was listened back to later on when Molly Staunton said, "Seamus, leave me alone." And there was an interaction between the two people. Seamus was never seen, but he was heard. Something similar to how I'm speaking to you now. Molly Staunton was speaking to the court, and Seamus was behind the scenes. And the court, the judge, obviously the two legal teams and the jury became aware that there was something happening in the background. and Miss Staunton's gaze was being drawn out past the laptop to which she was speaking. And it transpired then that this gentleman, Seamus, to all intents and purposes, attacked Miss Staunton and using phrases like, tell them what you're fucking supposed to tell them. No more testimony. And they talked about terrorising each other. And a lot of this wasn't actually heard by the jury. When this abominable interaction and interference on a state witness happened, Judge Michael White stood the jury down and they left the court. And as Seamus slammed down, now he actually slammed down quite violently, Miss Staunton's laptop, the voice recordings continued. And we heard a lot of the interactions between both Molly and indeed the man who was assaulting her. And it was a very unsavoury and unsatisfactory situation. And again, this happened on two occasions, day one and day two. And again, Miss Staunton confirmed to the court and to the judge that she was on her own. And again, she was telling lies. And again, as I say, it culminated on the final day as the laptop was slapped down. So Miss Staunton came back on. You could see on the screens in the court that she was quite visibly upset, and she was trying to gather herself and gather her thoughts. And she was asked by Brendan Graham, senior counsel for the prosecution, and she was asked by Judge White if she was okay, if she was fit to continue. And of course she said yes. And we had no way of knowing if there was, because she had laid previously, there could have been a gentleman, or Seamus could have been standing behind the laptop with any sort of weapon, cajoling her and forcing her to continue with the testimony. Because at the time Molly Staunton was attacked by Seamus, she was refusing to say that Aaron Brady said he shot the cop. And if you watch the videos linked below, we go into much more detail on what happened that day when there was an incident in the apartment in which Aaron was living in New York at the time. And Miss Staunton's twist on what happened that day was totally at odds with the truth. And she could not say it. She could not say it that day that Aaron shot the cop, when it was being put to her by Fiona Murphy, Aaron's defence counsel. Fiona Murphy was cross-examining Miss Staunton. And indeed, I seen Fiona Murphy that day, Barrister Fiona Murphy that day, and she was almost in tears, begging Judge Michael White to do something what we were after seeing in the court. And Judge Michael White sat back, allowed it to happen, and allowed the testimony to continue. Now, during some of these incidents, Miss Staunton was like this, in contact with someone on a phone. And we do believe, and I am saying, I stand to be proven wrong, but Senior Investigating Officer Mr. Mark Phillips was at the back of the court in mobile phone contact with someone. He had two phones in his hand. So he was using definitely one of the phones to speak to someone. They told us, Senior Investigating Mr. Mark Phillips told Brendan Graham that Molly Staunton said she's okay, she's going to go ahead. And we are led to believe that there was no one from NYPD, there was no one there to supervise what was happening, what was going on, and it's all a mystery. Well, it's obviously a mystery to us. It's not a mystery to Brendan Graham, the DPP, and the Irish judicial system. They knew exactly what was going on. So Miss Staunton continued to give her testimony. She still refused to say that Aaron said he shot a cop. And she was actually turned into a hostile witness. And obviously that meant that her as a state witness, the state barrister, had to get much more aggressive with her. Now, we have a number of issues in relation to Miss Staunton, health issues and whatever, and we're not going to air that in public. And that's something for a later date. But if you have time to watch the videos below, we'll go into much more detail in what happened and how this could have been allowed to happen in an Irish court. I think beggars belief for us all. And at that time, I do believe we were the only court case ongoing in the Western world, as far as we are aware. Because these people, I'm speaking about the senior members of the Garda Síochána, the judicial system in Ireland, the DPP, and Judge Michael White, were in no uncertain terms in a hurry to get this over and done with. And as far as we are concerned, they've seen this as manna from heaven, that they were allowed to have the witnesses give evidence from New York. And obviously it bore dividends for them. And Daniel Cahill, we refer to again, and we'll go into him in more detail probably early next week. I know a lot of you know a lot about them. Daniel Cahill, I'm saying again, was schooled to within an inch of his life. And he was one of the most prepared witnesses ever. And I do apologise. Just wondering, am I getting messages of problems with? Apologies, I'm just reading. No, it's fine. I thought I just messages coming through. I do apologise. So what we're saying is that at that time the pandemic was used as a shield. That had waited 7 years. We are now almost 10 years after the Northern robbery at Lordship Credit Union, and still no other people have been brought to court. And we'll see as things unfold hopefully in the very near future how that pans out. But we could see the drive on Judge Michael White and the DPP. They found a window where these people could give evidence from their homes in New York. Daniel Cahill did give evidence from Homeland Security Office in Manhattan. And I say once again, he was the most prepared, evasive witness our defence counsel had ever encountered. So basically what we're saying, Aaron Brady's rights were seriously abused. At no time should Molly Staunton, Daniel Cahill and Homeland Security Officer Mary Ann Wade be allowed to give evidence via video link in a capital murder trial. Every person has the right to face their accuser. Molly Staunton was attacked by Seamus during the course of her testimony. If that had to happen in open court, if Seamus had to get up and attack Molly Staunton while she was in the stand giving testimony in the CCJ in Dublin, Seamus would now be in jail. But Brendan Graham, Senior Counsel for the prosecution, the DPP, Judge Michael White, Senior Investigating Officer Mr. Mark Phillips, were happy to get up the next morning and tell the Irish public, we're not interested, we're not investigating it, it's a domestic incident, it's some sort of a domestic arrangement with Seamus and Molly Staunton. Now, if Seamus was shouting at her, where's me fucking dinner, that we could understand the domestic incident. Tell them what you're fucking supposed to tell them, Seamus was shouting at her. No more testimony as he slammed the laptop shut. So their domestic bliss was not in question here. What was in question was Molly Staunton's testimony. And I'll say once again, and we continue to reiterate this, Molly Staunton did not want to say that Aaron Brady said he shot a cop until she was turned into a hostile witness. And I think as you look through the videos of Molly Staunton, which are listed below, you will see the injustice that was forced upon Aaron Brady in the CCJ in Dublin. So I hope that gives you just a little taster for Molly Staunton's story, and hopefully if you have time to watch some of the videos, it'll give you some more insight into what was allowed to happen in the Irish judicial system. If anyone has any questions or wants more detail, please interact with us, ask the questions, and we'll be more than happy to interact with anyone from the public asking any relevant questions in relation to the trial or the investigation. Our next video, I think as we're coming up to the anniversary of the murder and robbery at Local Credit Union, we'll leave it for the rest of this week, and we'll have our next video out on early next week in relation to Daniel Cahill, and then we move into other aspects of the investigation and give you, the public, a library, and as I keep saying, a point of reference for each of the individual parts of the case investigation. Once again, thank you most sincerely for clicking and watching. Thank you for following on Facebook, Twitter, and through TikTok. Please continue to like, comment, and share. Please, our subscriptions are rising nicely on the YouTube channel. Thank you very much for that. And please continue to subscribe and hit the notification button. And as we release our videos and do our lives, you will get notification of what's happened in the Justice for Aaron Brady campaign. So once again, thank you, and we'll see you again next week. Please interact. Any questions, any queries, any observations, please let us know, and we'll talk to you all again soon. Thank you once again, and we'll see you at the next video. Thank you.